Welcome students. I have prepared this video lecture to explain the physiology of the large intestine. Objective of this lecture is to understand functional anatomy of large intestine, secretion present in the large intestine, movement of the large intestine and functions of the large intestine along with the applied aspect related to the physiology of intestine. Large intestine extends from ileocecal wall to the anal canal. Diameter of the large intestine is about 6 cm and length of the large intestine is 1.5 meter or 5 feet. Ileocecal wall it is present between the terminal ileum and the initial part of the large intestine. It is the terminal part of the ileum which contains more amount of the circular muscle fiber and act as a valve. It prevents backflow of the fecal material from the cecum inside the terminal portion of the ileum. Pressure and chemical irritation it relaxes ileocecal sphincter and it increases emptying of the content from the ileum inside the cecum. Fluidity of the content it promotes emptying of the ileal contents inside the cecum. Whenever pressure inside the cecum is more or chemical irritation it is present inside the cecum, then it increases tone of the ileocecal sphincter and it prevents emptying of the ileal contents inside the cecum. Ileocecal wall it is also controlled by gastrointestinal hormones like gastrin which promotes relaxation of the ileocecal sphincter and secretin it promotes contraction of the ileocecal sphincter and prevents emptying of the ileal contents inside the cecum. Cecum is a blinded sac in which terminal ileum opens through the ileocecal sphincter. Cecum also contains the opening of the vermiform appendix. Appendix has worm-like appearance and it is vestigial organ in the human beings. Inflammation of the appendix it produces appendicitis and it needs surgical removal of the vermiform appendix. Ascending colon it extends from the cecum to the right side of the abdomen up to liver where it bends and it forms right hepatic flexor. Transverse colon it extends from the right side of the hepatic flexor to the left splenic flexor and descending colon it extends from the left splenic flexor to the pelvic inlet. Sigmoid colon it extends from the pelvic inlet and joins rectum in front of the sacrum. Rectum becomes continuous with the anal canal and anal canal opens to the exterior through the anus. Now opening of the anal canal it is guarded by two sphincters, internal anal sphincter and external anal sphincter. Internal anal sphincter it is involuntary and external anal sphincter it is under voluntary control. Characteristic features of the large intestine. Here we can see the endoscopic view of the large intestine. So mucosa of the large intestine it is smooth. It does not contain plica circularis which are present in the small intestine and even the mucosa of the large intestine it does not contain villi. Here we can see the cross section of the wall of the large intestine which shows presence of the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa as well as the serosa. Now in the mucosa of the large intestine, opening of the intestinal glands they are present and it is known as intestinal crypt or the crypt of Lieberkühn. Crypt of Lieberkühn it is lined by simple columnar cells and the goblet cells and epithelial cells does not contain enzyme in the large intestine. Walls of the large intestine it contains muscularis externa which contains circular muscle fibers as well as the longitudinal muscle fibers. Now the longitudinal muscle fiber it is present in three distinct bands in the large intestine and it is known as tinea coli. Wall of the colon it is folded into sac by contraction of the smooth muscle which produces sacculation also known as hostra. Now fatty tags which project from the colonic serosa are peritoneal bag of the fat known as appendices epiploica. Secretion of the large intestine. Now intestinal crypts or crypts of the Lieberkühn they are lined by enterocytes and goblet cells. Now these enterocytes they do not contain digestive enzymes and goblet cells they mainly secrete mucus. Now mucus lubricates fecal matter and it prevent mechanical injury to the wall of the large intestine. Other non-mucus secreting cells which are present inside the crypt of the Lieberkühn, they secrete water and bicarbonate, and simple columnar cells, they promote absorption of the water. So in the large intestinal secretion, mainly mucus, bicarbonate and water, they are present. Bacterial flora, it is present in the large intestine and it is very helpful in the health as well as important in various disease processes also. At birth, colon is sterile, but colonic bacteria flora, it becomes established early in the life. The microorganisms present in the colon include various harmless bacteria as well as harmful bacteria. Harmless bacteria such as Escherichia coli and Enterobacter aerogens, and harmful organisms like Bacteroid fragilis and gas gangrene bacilli. Most of the functions of the gut microbes, they are beneficial to the human body because of the synthesis of vitamins by gut microbes. Vitamins like vitamin K, B complex vitamins and the folic acids, they are synthesized by gut microbes. Biotransformation of the primary bile acids into secondary bile acids as well as formation of the stercobilinogen from the bile pigments, it occurs by the action of the gut microbes. Gut microbes, they ferment undigested food products, they ferment polysaccharides and generate short chain fatty acids. Now short chain fatty acids, they are trophic for the intestinal mucosa. It helps in the growth, apoptosis and the repair of the intestinal mucosa. Short chain fatty acids, they promote absorption of the water and electrolytes. In the patient with the antibiotic associated diarrhea, when the antibiotics they are given for a longer duration of the time, it decreases the amount of the gut flora and decreases formation of the short chain fatty acid in the large intestine, which results in decreased absorption of the water and electrolytes and results in diarrhea. Short chain fatty acids regulate hepatic glucose and lipid homeostasis. Short chain fatty acid, they also regulate immune and inflammatory response. And gut microbes, they also prevent growth of the pathogenic bacteria. They act on a Paneth cells in the intestinal crypt and increases secretion of the bacteriostatic and bacteriolytic products, and it limits the growth of the pathogenic organism in the large intestine. Other functions of intestinal microbes, it includes production of the intestinal gas. Now colonic bacteria, it produces gas in the colon by breakdown of the undigested food products. Now gas in the colon, it includes carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen and methane gas. Gas in the colon, they contribute to flatus. Now odor of the feces is because of the indoles, ketol and mercaptans synthesized by the colonic bacteria. Color of the stool, it is because of the pigments formed by colonic bacteria from the bile pigments. And intestinal microbes, they also produce ammonia by the fermentation of the undigested food particles, particularly the proteins, and they are detoxified by liver. So in the patient with the liver insufficiency, serum ammonia level increases which can produce hepatic encephalopathy. So intestinal microbes, they are responsible for the production of the intestinal gas, odor of the feces as well as the color of stools. Functions of large intestine. Secretory function of the large intestine, it includes secretion of water, mucin and bicarbonate. Mucin, it lubricates fecal material and facilitates movement of the fecal material in the large intestine, and it protects the mucosa of the large intestine from damage. Bicarbonate, they neutralize acid which is formed by fermentation of the undigested food products, which is the function of the bacterial flora. Absorption of the water, electrolyte and glucose occurs in the large intestine, and it is mainly the function of the proximal part of the large intestine. Synthesis of vitamins like vitamin K, vitamin B12 and folic acid, it occurs by the bacterial flora. Storage of the feces before defecation as well as excretion of feces through the anal canal, it is also the function of the large intestine. Transit time in the large intestine, it is longer. So here we can see the barium meal study. So after the intake of the barium meal it passes from the stomach, small intestine and then it enters inside the large intestine. So it takes about 4 to 5 hours to reach up to the cecum after the intake of the barium meal, and barium meal it reaches up to the hepatic flexor in 6 hours. It reaches up to the splenic flexor in 9 hours, and it takes 12 to 18 hours to reach pelvic colon. So transit time in the large intestine it is long. Movements of the large intestine. First of all, the movement of the large intestine, they are coordinated by the basic electrical rhythm. Basic electrical rhythm, it is also known as slow wave. Frequency of the slow wave activity, it gradually increases in the large intestine, whereas the frequency of the slow wave gradually decreases in the small intestine. Basic electrical rhythm in the large intestine, it is 9 per minute at the ileocecal valve and 16 per minute at the sigmoid colon. So gradually there is increase in the frequency of the slow wave activity occurs in the large intestine. Now various movement of the large intestine, it includes various movement like the mixing movement as well as the propulsive movement. Mixing movements, they are also known as rostral shuttling, and peristaltic movement, it includes peristalsis, mass movements, and various reflexes like gastrocolic reflex. Movement of the colon helps in the absorption of water, electrolytes, and it promotes storage and excretion of the fecal materials. Now, first of all, the mixing movements. Mixing movements, they are also known as segmental contraction or rostral shuttling. So, in the mixing movements, contraction of circular as well as the longitudinal muscle occurs. Contraction of the circular muscle, it produces constriction ring at regular intervals, and contraction of the longitudinal muscle, also known as tinea coli, it causes bulging of the colon between the constriction ring. It is known as ostration. Now, rostral contraction perform two main functions. First is the mixing of the fecal material and absorption of the fluid and electrolytes from the mucosal surface of the large intestine, and slow propulsion of the fecal material towards anus. Now, second type of the movement that is observed in the large intestine, that is a propulsive movement, that is a peristaltic contraction. Now, peristaltic wave is a progressive contractile wave which is preceded by a wave of the relaxation. Peristaltic wave propel the content towards the rectum very slowly at the rate of about 5 cm per hour. Now, a special type of the peristaltic contraction that are observed in the large intestine, they are the mass movements. They occur only in colon, and this is the simultaneous contraction of the large portion of the colon. Mass movements, they occur at the rate of about 3 to 4 times per day, and it occurs for about 3 minutes. They propel fecal material rapidly down the colon and empty about more than 20 centimeter segment of the colon. Gastrocolic reflex, as the name suggests, it is the contraction of the colon induced by entry of the food in the stomach. This reflex result in urge to defecate after a meal, and because of this reflex, defecation after meal is common in children. Now this reflex occurs in two phases, early or the rapid phase within 10 minutes of meals. It occurs because of the initiation by distension of the stomach and through extrinsic nerve of the autonomic nervous system. It initiates gastrocolic reflex. Anticholinergic drugs can abolish this early or rapid phase. Late or slow phase is because of the gastrointestinal hormone. Because of the release of the gastrin and cholecystokinin, it increases contraction of the colon, and it increases urge to defecate after meal. Defecation is the process by which undigested food particles, sloughed off epithelial cells, and intestinal secretions they are excreted from the body. Defecation process it is controlled by anal sphincters. There are two anal sphincters, internal anal sphincter that is involuntary, and this is thickening of the circular smooth muscles, and external anal sphincter this is under voluntary control, and it consists of somatic skeletal muscles. Now let's understand the innervation of the sphincter to understand the regulation of anal sphincters. Internal anal sphincter it is innervated by parasympathetic pelvic splanchnic nerve from S2 to S4, and it is mainly inhibitory or it produces relaxation of the anal sphincter, and sympathetic nerve, it is mainly excitatory and it increases tone of the internal anal sphincter. External anal sphincter, it is innervated by pudendal nerves. Defecation reflex is a spinal reflex and it is also under voluntary control by the higher centers. First urge to defecate occurs when rectal pressure increases more than 20 mm of mercury and distension of the rectum of feces it initiate defecation reflex. Efferents or the sensory information it is carried by the pelvic nerves and efferents through the parasympathetic nerve it produces relaxation of the internal anal sphincter and inhibition of the pudendal nerve which causes opening of the internal as well as the external anal sphincters. Voluntary control of the defecation. So defecation can also be initiated by the voluntary act by the contraction of the abdominal muscle which lowers pelvic floor by 1 to 3 centimeter and reduction of the angle between the anus and rectum to 15 degree. Normal angle is the 90 degree, but the lowering of the pelvic floor it reduces the angle to the 15 degree, and by voluntary relaxation of the external anal sphincter voiding of feces can be done. Applied aspect of the defecation. Defecation in infants is simple spinal reflex and voluntary control of the reflex by higher center is attained by social training as the child grows. Now in individual with the spinal cord injury, initially there is retention of the feces because of the loss of the defecation reflex, and defecation reflex returns quickly without voluntary control. So in the patients with a spinal cord injury, voluntary control is lost and defecation reflex it becomes simple spinal reflex, and reflex evacuation occurs automatically when the rectal pressure increases to 55 mmHg. Applied aspects of the large intestine. Use of the dietary fibers in the treatment as well as prevention of various diseases and disorders of the movement of the large intestine like Hirschsprung disease, constipation, and the diarrhea. Benefits of dietary fibers. So dietary fiber they add bulk in the feces. So dietary fiber they constitute the cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin components of the vegetable products. Now in humans, there is no appreciable digestion of the dietary fibers occur. So ingested dietary fiber they reach large intestine in unchanged state. So increased bulk of this undigested residue, it distends intestine, stimulate peristalsis and the passage through the intestine. So dietary fibers they add bulk to the feces and distend rectum. High fiber diet is useful in the treatment of the constipation because it distends intestine, stimulate peristalsis and mass movements. High fiber diet it reduces efficiency of the absorption of nutrients in small intestine and large intestine. So high fiber diet it forms a mechanical barrier between the nutrients and absorptive surface. The high fiber diet it prevents absorption of the nutrients because of this mechanical barrier. High fiber diet it helps in the reducing postprandial hyperglycemia because of the decreased absorption of the glucose in the small intestine and large intestine, and because of that it reduces requirement of insulin in the postprandial phase. So high fiber diet it is useful in the prevention as well as the treatment of individual suffering from diabetes mellitus. So in this manner high fiber diet it reduces efficiency of the absorption of the nutrients and it can be useful in the prevention as well as the treatment of the patient with the diabetes mellitus. High fiber diet it reduces blood cholesterol also. So fibers in the diet they bind with the bile salts and decreases lipid digestion and absorption because bile salt they play important role in the lipid digestion and absorption, and fibers in the diet they bind with the bile salts and decreases absorption and digestion of lipids. Now because fiber diet it binds with the bile salt, it decreases enterohepatic circulation of the bile salt also. So liver it synthesizes new bile acid from the cholesterol. So blood cholesterol level also decreases. Thus high fiber diet decreases digestion and absorption of the fat and it promotes utilization of cholesterol. So high fiber diet it is useful in the metabolic disorders associated with overnutrition because it decreases digestion and absorption of the lipid, and high fiber diet also promotes utilization of cholesterol in the blood. High fiber diet decreases incidence of cancer of colon. So individuals with the low fiber diet have decreased residue in their colon, and because of that the individual with the low fiber diet has high incidence of diverticulitis, diabetes mellitus, carcinoma colon, coronary artery diseases. So because of that low fiber diet it should be avoided. High fiber diet it causes dilution of the carcinogen in diet, and it also reduces duration of the contact between carcinogen and mucous membrane of colon, and dietary fiber they also bind with the carcinogen and prevent their effect on colon, and because of all this effect high fiber diet decreases incidence of cancer of colon. Benefits of the high fiber diet it includes dietary fiber they add bulk in the feces, so it is helpful in the patient with the constipation. High fiber diet reduces efficiency of the absorption of the nutrients. So high fiber diet it is useful in the patient with the metabolic disorders associated with the overnutrition. High fiber diet it reduces blood cholesterol, and high fiber diet it also decreases incidence of cancer of colon. So we must include sufficient amount of the fiber in diet to obtain all these health benefits. Disorders of the movement of the large intestine. First of all, the Hirschsprung disease. Hirschsprung disease occurs because of the congenital absence of the ganglion cell in the meningeal as well as submucous plexus. So it is the disease that occurs because of the absence of the ganglion cell. Now, cause of this absence of the ganglion cell, it is the failure of the migration of the neural crest cells during the development, and because of the mutation in the gene expressing endothelin receptor type B. So whenever gene expressing endothelin receptor type B it is defective, it results in the decreased binding of the endothelin with the endothelin receptor in the neural crest cells, which result in the failure of the migration of the neural crest cell during the development, which result in the absence of the ganglion cell in the segment of the large intestine, and because of that blockage of the peristalsis and mass contraction occur in the aganglionic segment. So feces they accumulate in the aganglionic segment, producing dilatation of the colon, which is known as megacolon. Treatment of the Hirschsprung disease it include surgical removal of aganglionic segment and suture the cut end of the intestine. Constipation refers to the failure of the voiding feces, which produces discomfort. It commonly occurs because of the infrequent mass movement of the colon. It occurs because of the abnormal bowel habits in the individual. So fecal matter it remains in the colon for a longer duration of the time, and absorption of the water it occurs in the large intestine, which makes hard and dry feces. Treatment of the constipation it includes intake of sufficient amount of the dietary fibers and laxative. They are also useful in the patient suffering from constipation. Diarrhea. Diarrhea, they are the increased frequency of defecation. It may occur in the bacterial, protozoal, and the viral infections of the intestinal tract, food poisoning, and ulcerative colitis. So, enteritis is the inflammation and irritation of the intestinal mucosa, which increases gastrointestinal movement and decreases absorption of the water and increased secretion in the intestine, which result in the increased frequency of the defecation and dehydration. Cholera. Cholera is also a common cause of the diarrhea. So cholera bacillus, it produces cholera toxin, and this cholera toxin it binds with GM1 receptor on the enterocytes, and it increases cyclic AMP inside the enterocytes, which increases secretion of the electrolytes and decreases absorption of the sodium chloride, which produces dehydration. By giving oral rehydration solution, we can treat the patient with the cholera.